A day to remember for the rest of your lives.
There's a great promise for all of you.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame and Extreme Networks present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program. With nearly 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 48 states around this country, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans how to huddle up during a time when we need to be united.
It's time for America to take a real deep dive. Not at no one else, but at yourself individually. If you want to change America, don't brush your teeth with your head down. Look at who you are and be the example. Be the example.
An opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. Single-parent homes, drug-infested neighborhoods, and poverty.
I grew up in a neighborhood that was considered one of the worst in America, and the household I grew up in was one of the worst in that neighborhood. By the time I was 20 years old, I knew at least 30 friends or family members who had lost their lives. Football became like a second parent to me. It taught me the things that my father wasn't there to teach me, and that my mother, as a struggling, single-parent woman, just didn't know to teach me.
But they learn how to live a life of character before pursuing their football careers. Today, you will learn you can do the same that they once did. Making good decisions can lead to a prosperous life both on and off the field. Your game for life has already begun. It's your decision whether or not you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
Every one of you can have a Hall of Fame life, whether or not you play football. You can be as great as you want to be. The Hall of Fame is all about integrity, character, and excellence. You have the opportunity to represent yourself that way. You determine your character.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, The Heart of a Hall of Famer.
I'm almost lost for words being elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is an incredible honor, and I feel very privileged and humbled. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would be standing before you here on this stage in Canton, Ohio. I took great pride representing the Steelers and the great tradition and the high standards. Being a Steeler meant being a blue-collar worker with an unwavering commitment to excellence. And that's what being a Steeler meant to me, and I hope I made the Steeler Nation proud. Thank you. Thank you to the fans, because you guys are what this game is all about. Thank you for your years of support and dedication you have shown to the Pittsburgh Steelers and the NFL. Without you, there is no NFL. I want to thank you, God bless you, and good night. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'd like to welcome everybody back to Canton, Ohio, to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the most inspiring place on earth, for another installment of our great Heart of a Hall of Famer series powered by Extreme Networks. Today, as you saw in that great introduction, featuring our gold jacket, Mr. Dermontti Dawson, who's filling in for, I know a lot of people signed up for a Donnie Shell program, but Mr. Shell's feeling a little under the weather. So we said, you know what, we'll just replace him with another Steelers great. And we got so here with Mr. Dawson today. And we'll turn things over to him here in a few minutes. But to kind of introduce myself, as many of you know, my name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth and Education Manager here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. And our mission here at the Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. And we truly believe in that mission here in our Youth and Education Department. And we're going to talk a lot of specifically today about those values: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence, all of which play a major role in our Hall of Famers' lives on the football field, but they also play an equal role off the field. They make them Hall of Fame dads and brothers and sons. They can make you Hall of Fame teachers and students. These values play a huge role in not only the game of football, but everyday life as well. So if there's one message everybody takes away from today, it's just that, is how important these Hall of Fame values are. So I'm excited today to hear how those values impacted Mr. Dawson's life, both on and off the field, as well as some of the questions that we have from our students today. But first of all, I got some thank yous I'd like to send out. First of all, I'd like to thank our great partners at Extreme Networks for all they do for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They do a lot of great work for us. They make programs like this possible for students all across the country, but they do so much more for schools and education establishments, across the United States. So I want to thank them for their support. Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers and administrators for allowing us to be a part of your class today. We know that this school year has been crazy, and it seems like day to day it's different. So we just appreciate you allowing us to be a part of your school day today and help your students learn a little bit about the game of football and character education. And lastly, I'd like to thank our students. Without you guys here today, this program doesn't take place. We don't get to hear all the great questions that you have. I know Mr. Dawson is excited to hear those questions, as so am I. If you're watching us on the YouTube live stream, make sure you put those questions into the chat function there, and we'll do our best to get them as part of the program as well. So if you're a student in the classroom, get ready. You're going to be able to ask some questions. If you're watching us on YouTube, you have the same opportunity to ask. Just let us know who you are, what school you go to, and your question. And like I said, we'll try our best to make it a part of the program. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Gold Jacket, Hall of Famer, class of 2012, Mr. Dermontti Dawson. Dermontti, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, hey, you're more than welcome. More than welcome, Jacob. Hey, I want to welcome all you guys to the Heart of Hall of Famer program. I'm happy to be here today with you guys and answer some of your questions. And I want to let you know that you're never too young or old to develop good character. It's important for you guys because some of you guys will be applying for college, and some of you guys will be looking for jobs. And of course, when they have on the application, they have character questions where they want you to give a reference of somebody they can call and talk about your character. So it's important, for you guys to exhibit good character and just learn some skills about how to conduct yourselves. And, we talk about the Hall of Fame values, commitment, integrity, courage, respect, excellence. These values have helped us as players develop good character, and it can do the same for you as well. And, character is something which comes from within us. And developing good character helps you develop a winning personality, and it helps you get ahead in life. I try to preach to my kids that being a good person, it doesn't take a lot of effort, but it's amazing how it can impact not only your life, but people around you. And I'm just happy to be here today with you guys and answer some of your questions.
Well, we appreciate that great opening remarks, and it truly speaks on how important those values are. And I want to dive in on those just a little further. You mentioned our 5 values: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence. And now those are 5 values that, they're 5 we picked out, but there's so many more that the game of football and all of sports really teach. So it was really tough to boil down to those 5. But out of those 5, is there one that stands out to you as more important than the others, or are they all equal and they all kind of play their own role?
Well, I think for me, the most important Hall of Fame values are commitment and, striving for excellence, and then also exhibiting integrity. And if you don't have 3 of those, it's going to be too hard for you to advance in whatever it may be, business, school. But, first and foremost, you have to be committed to whatever you do. And yeah, I just think commitments and then striving for excellence, and then, operating with some kind of integrity, being a stand-up person and doing what you say you're going to do, that will get you ahead in life much better than anything.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. We're going to dive into our questions from all of our students now across the country. And just as a reminder to all those schools, when I say that we're coming to your classroom, I'm going to go ahead and unmute your mic. Just make sure that you go ahead and allow me to do that. Have your students come up to the laptop, the camera, the microphone to ask their question. And then after that, they ask their question, I'll go ahead and mute your microphones again as well. So we're going to start with Belmont County Alternative Program and Mr. Alt's classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and have your students step up to the microphone there and ask their question here for Mr. Dawson. Looks like we got one person coming up and a big old Steelers helmet.
Go Steelers.
Who's your favorite player on the Steelers now?
My favorite player, I've got two. I've got Levon Kirkland and I have Duval Love. Duval Love and I, we talk almost every week. Levon Kirkland and I don't talk as much because I think he is the curator for the South Carolina Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame. But those are two of my best friends that I keep in contact with on the regular.
Now, so those are players from, is there anybody, being a Steeler, it's one of those great organizations that, once you're a Steeler, you're a lifetime Steeler.
Always a Steeler. That's right.
Is there somebody do you still have contact with the team today? Is there a player that's on the roster, Pouncey, who played your position, just announced his retirement. So I assume that, you were close to him. Is there a guy like that currently plays in the NFL that you're close to?
Marquise was, when he first was drafted to the Steelers, of course, I wished him, good luck and wished him to Steeler Nation. He turned out to be one heck of a center. And, one of these days we're going to see him in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. He's had a Hall of Fame career. And, and I just love Marquise because it's just the way he carries himself. He carries himself with a lot of respect from his former players, but he's got a certain air about him, and you can tell he's a guy of great integrity. And, when you've been around a lot of guys, guys who have that, good character in them, and they're just good people, good, decent people. And he seems to be that kind of person.
And that's important. You mentioned you got to obviously be an athlete and have on-field success, but it's that kind of off the field to where that people remember. There's a great video. We shared some programming. It's where LaDainian Tomlinson talks about that. His accolades on the field, you're going to remember those, but those are going to fade. And it's about what your impact is off the field. That's the memories that people will always remember.
Yes.
Lifetimes and lifetimes from now. So I think
and then also the people who, kind of shaped and formed us as players, whether it be teachers, parents, coaches, we all had somebody who kind of shared in our success. And we can't say that we did it on our own. Yeah, the ability and all that from us as players on the field performing, that comes from us, just making sure we keep our bodies right, keep our bodies strong, and then perform on the field. But we have people who kind of get us here to that point. But once you get to that point, that's the easy thing. People think that it's easy making it to the NFL. Once you make it, that's the good part.
Yeah.
But having some longevity and making having a great career, that takes a lot of commitment. And for that, that's one of our Hall of Fame values for excellence and commitment. Those are the two that I think really stand out that kind of helped me in my career, and also being a person of integrity as well. And then with that comes respect, because you're respected by your players because you perform on the field and you work hard. They see that, so it becomes contagious.
Yeah, and you for everybody watching today, you'll it's kind of funny. You'll see how many of these answers and how many things we talk about all fall back to those values, and it just goes to show how important that they are in everybody's life. So we're going to continue going through here. We're going to go out to Ms. Black's class there at Madge Yutz. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys to I'm going to go ahead and unmute your microphones there. You're good to go. So whenever you're ready, have the student ask their question.
Hi, thanks for having us. Tell them your name.
My name is Willie.
All right. Whenever
how are you?
Go ahead and ask your question.
Have you ever persevered through injury?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever persevered through injury, like never gave up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, of course, when you play football, injuries are commonplace. And sometimes a lot of guys don't understand the difference between being injured and hurt. you can be hurt, and that still allows you to play. But when you're injured, that's totally different. You can do more damage to your body. So therefore, sometimes you have to fight through it. And my 12th year, I ended up tearing a tendon in my hamstring that connects my hamstring to my pelvic bone. I ruptured it about 40% from the pelvic bone. And so that was a trying time because I'd been I guess that was my 12th year, and I had not missed a game. And so I was worried that I was going to miss a game. But next thing you know, midway through the 1999 season, I had that tendon tear again, and I was out for 8 games. And then I tried to do the all-season program to heal, but you just don't have that much time to try to rehab in the off-season. And then I came back again in my 2000 season, my last season, and it ruptured again. So I had to endure with that, but I've had multiple injuries that you have to play hurt sometimes. That's just part of it. You feel obligated as a player and as a teammate because you think that we have a better opportunity of winning with me in the game as opposed to having somebody else. So yeah, I did have a lot of injuries that I had to fight through, but you somehow make it through and persevere.
And I think that's a very key point, persevering, whether it's through injury, adversity, tough times, whatever it might be. And, when you come out of college, you're starting a brand new career, brand new journey. You're still playing football, but it's something that brand new. So, you out of the University of Kentucky, you were a 2nd-round draft pick. Being a 2nd-round draft pick, was there any sort of chip on your shoulder or extra motivation for you because you weren't a 1st-round pick, you were a guy in the 2nd round? Or was it just like, hey, you know what? I'm excited for the opportunity. I've been granted this, by my ability. I'm going to take every advantage that I can.
I was excited just to be a 2nd-round draft choice. I was just happy to be drafted in general, because I wasn't a large offensive guard. I was only like 285, 287 when I was drafted, but I was fast and strong. So the Steelers took a chance on me in the 2nd round, even though I found out that Bill Parcells with the Giants wanted to take me in the 1st round, but he thought I was too light and I didn't fit their scheme of offense. And Ron Earhart, when he came to Pittsburgh in 1992, he used to tell me that story about Parcells wanting to draft me in the 1st round, and but they decided to pass on me because they thought I was too small. But I fit perfectly within the Steelers' offensive system, which was great for me. And I think a lot of teams saw me at the All-Star games where they switched me to play center along as well as guard because I was drafted as a guard, but they knew that I could play center as well. So it was twofold where I could either play guard or center. And I think that kind of upped my stock a little bit in the draft. But hey, I was just elated just to be drafted.
And I think, you talk about, looking forward that the Steelers kind of had that outlook. You took over for fellow Hall of Famer center there with Pittsburgh, Mr. Mike Webster.
Yes.
And then the Hall of Fame center just continued with you. Just to kind of put in perspective for all of our viewers today, and when in the 1988 draft, when you were selected, you were the 6th offensive lineman selected. Randall McDaniel, fellow Hall of Famer, was the 1st overall pick.
Yes.
But so out of the other 4 in between you, don't really know their names. Though we come down to Mr. Dermontti Dawson, Hall of Famer, you, Randall McDaniel, as well as 3 other members from that draft did become Hall of Famers. So, we talk about your career and, getting started with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And one of the special things we like to do with this program is, incorporate the museum. Because here at the Hall of Fame, we're this great, complex, great enshrinement week powered by Johnson Controls. But at the heart of everything, we are a museum. So we do our best to try and incorporate that. And part of today's is an artifact that belongs to you that we have on display that kind of goes along with getting your career started in Pittsburgh. So I'm going to send it out to our lower rotunda to the Youth and Education Coordinator, Nathan Martin, who's in front of that artifact. So Nathan, you there?
Yeah, Jake, can you hear me?
We got you. Go ahead.
Hey, Nathan.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, Mr. Dawson. And like Jake said, guys, I am in the 1st floor of our rotunda here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And in this area of the museum, we've got, the beginnings of the game, but then we have the first 100 years of the NFL documented decade by decade. And I'm in the 1990s portion. And like Jake said, we're next to an artifact that belongs to Dermontti, and it's the first helmet that was ever issued to him when he joined the Pittsburgh Steelers out of that draft class as a second-round pick. And as Jake alluded to, he replaced eventually future Hall of Famer Mike Webster at the center position. And while we're standing here, and like Jake said, we're so excited to have this artifact on display for all the fans that visit us here in Canton to see. It's got me thinking, though, Mr. Dawson, this was your first ever issued helmet. So you were probably wearing this when it happened. But what was your welcome to the NFL moment after you were drafted by the Steelers?
Well, my welcome moment probably did not come until my second year when I started at center, because I was originally a guard my first year, and we were playing Jerry Ball up in Detroit, and Jerry Ball was probably less than 6 feet tall, but he weighed about 310, 315 pounds, but he was so fast and strong, and we had the trapping offense. So my first preseason game in Detroit, Jerry Ball was wearing me out. He was shooting the gaps. He was pulling, because we had to pull in trapping offense. So the guards were trying to pull, and then he would push me back a little bit. I'd knock the guard off of his track. And when he was running around trying to kick out the linebacker. And I tell you what, man, he introduced me to the NFL when it came to playing center. And I said, man, I got back to the line of scrimmage, and I told back to the sideline. And I told my coach, I said, man, he is killing me. I said, I keep guessing too much. And he said, look, hey, you're a good player. Calm down, calm your nerves, and then you'll be able to handle them. So the second half, I started not to think as much, and I started to react. And the second half, I handled him, and then I never had a problem with him ever since.
Yeah, I'm sure that, like you said, Mr. Ball there, Jerry Ball, was giving you a hard time in that first half, and your coach gave you that great advice. Do you have any memorable matchups with, other Hall of Famers? Because I'm sure throughout your career after that experience, there were a lot of guys that you started pushing around and you started to handle in an extreme way.
Yeah, there's several players, but, some of them were inside linebackers. Jeff Herrard, who played for Indianapolis at the time. Every once in a while, I would go against Cornelius Bennett when he would come inside against Buffalo. I'm trying to think of some of the other Hall of Famers. Michael Dean Perry, Cleveland, another good defensive interior lineman who I think should be in the Hall of Fame at some point. But yeah, there were several guys. It's just I can't remember all the guys that I played against, but there was just so many of them because they rotate in. Cortez Kennedy, who was in my Hall of Fame class in 2012 when he was in Seattle. Playing against him, he was one heck of a player. So there's been several players that played against that were pretty tough opponents.
And like you said, you gave a lot of credit to your opponents and gave them the respect they were due. But we know here that you were one heck of a player as well, like you said about Cortez Kennedy. So thank you so much for answering that. I'm going to send it back to Jake so we can get some more questions from our students.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Yeah. And you talk about, playing those guys and having, you mentioned there's so many. And I want to talk about this because we did mention it right when you connected in, kind of off camera, you could say, before everybody connected in. But as you can see behind you there, you got those pictures of MJ, Michael Jordan hanging up. And the question I want to ask is, as a player who wasn't good to be a professional athlete, obviously you look up to those people as idols and role models. But for somebody, who was a professional athlete, what's the level of respect between someone like a Dermontti Dawson and a Michael Jordan? People who were at the epitome of their careers at one point. For us, it's like, oh my gosh, it's Dermontti Dawson or it's Michael Jordan. Do you have the same kind of reaction when you see somebody like that? Or is there a certain level of respect?
Yeah, there's a certain level of respect, but when you see a guy like Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson, when you see those guys, you're still in awe because they're just larger than life. Shaq, when I met him, same thing. But some of those guys who are at the top of their game in whatever sport it may be, it's the same thing with us. They watch other sports just as much as we watch, baseball, basketball. and they have the same fascination that we have with those guys. And it's a mutual respect when you go to the events and see those guys, and they know your name, and you're kind of surprised, but it just kind of freaks me out sometimes when I go and, hanging out with Charles Barkley, and when I went to Shaq's party at the Super Bowl and got a chance to sit and talk to him. It's just amazing. There's a mutual respect between professional athletes, no matter what, sport it is. So yeah, it's pretty fun just to be able to have, be able to go to different events and kind of hang out with those guys and talk to them. But it's a mutual respect.
I'm sure it is a blast to share stories of your careers.
Yeah,
we're gonna go back out to we're gonna go back out now. We got back-to-back school classrooms here at Belden Leadership School, right here in Canton, Ohio. So we're gonna go to Miss Rinaldi's class first. So go ahead there and have a student come up to the microphone and go ahead and ask their question. It looks like we've got get the microphone unmuted here. All right, and we're going to go ahead and have that student step up to the mic.
Yep, this is Tyson.
Tyson, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well, sir.
Good. Okay, my question is, what was it like playing your first Steelers game?
Well, that was in 1988, my first Steeler game. I tell you what, I was a little nervous because it was my fourth game of the year, and I just started. Was named the starter at guard. Of course, you're a little nervous when you first start out because you're, coming from college and then going to the pros and then playing in big games and big stadiums with big crowds. You are a little nervous, but once you get out there and start moving around and hitting a few guys, the nervousness goes away. You got to be on your P's and Q's when you're out there because you're playing against guys who are more seasoned than I was at that time. But when you come out of college, you're probably just as strong and just as fast as some of the pro guys. It's just a mentality that you have to create when you get out on the field, because these guys know what it takes and what kind of mentality. And me coming in as a rookie and starting, it's a whole different mentality. And but it was a great learning experience for me. I learned a lot my rookie year, and that kind of helped me prepare for the rest of my career on how to approach a game and how to get myself be in the classroom and studying all the plays and different adjustments that had to be made. But it was a fun time. It was a fun time.
I bet it was, and I bet it's one of those moments you wish you could go back and live again, and something that you for sure miss. And you get that. That's one of the topics that we like to touch on a lot is what is that thing that you miss the most? Is it that first game? Was it putting the shoulder pads on? Is it the locker room? What is the one thing that, once you left the game of football that you found yourself craving, maybe come every Sunday around 1:00?
Yeah, when I first left the game and retired, of course, because you're so regimented for the whole, and, I played football from high school, college, pros. So that was 20 straight years where everything was regimented. My schedule was regimented based on football. And once you leave the game, you don't miss the game itself. You miss really much your teammates, the camaraderie with your teammates, because you develop such a great friendship over the years, and you have so many different players that come in and out of your life. Free agents, some guys stay there for a few years, then they're gone. And that's the one thing that you really miss when you leave the game. It's just the camaraderie with the teammates, on the bus, everybody joking around, or on the plane flying from a game. The silly little antics and stuff that guys are joking around in the locker room. You miss the locker room talk. Those are the things that you really miss. And when you leave the game, it is a big adjustment because your life has been dedicated to football and your schedule has been dictated by football. And that's the one thing that you have to kind of get used to, because everything is so regimented. So when you got to be in mini camp or training camp, spring training, you got to work out, and then all that's gone. So that's a large void that you've been doing for that's been ripped away from your life while playing football for 20 straight years.
Yeah.
So that's what you really miss.
Just, and it's another way it kind of reflects in the real life, when you retire from an executive job or a job at the bank or as teaching, you don't have that schedule anymore. So it's like wake up and it's like, well, what am I going to do today? So it is another adjustment, and it's another thing that the game of football, how crazy it is, and one thing that everybody can learn from it. We're going to send it back out to Belden now to Mr. Shreve's class. So go ahead there, Mr. Shreve, have a student come up to the microphone and ask their question for Mr. Dermontti Dawson. All right, looks like we have one brave soul walking up to the camera.
All right.
We have Destiny coming up.
Destiny?
What character qualities do you believe it takes to be a Hall of Fame player?
What quality do I take that I think it takes to be a Hall of Fame player?
Yeah.
With anything you do, if you're going to have success, and that goes across the board, I don't care what industry, what job. I think number one is commitment, because no matter what you guys do, no matter what you try, whether it be, when you guys go to college, when you're in the workforce, commitment is the number one value that I think is the most important, because without commitment, you're not going to excel. And, I used to have a college coach when I was in college that he used to always in practice, be the best. And I took that to heart, because when I got to Pittsburgh and I was drafted with Pittsburgh and playing guard, I wanted to be a good guard and I wanted to be a good center when they switched me to center. But I think that being committed to whatever it is you may try to pursue, you have to be committed first. And then you have to strive for excellence. Our coach used to say, hey, you're out here doing practice, so don't dog practice because you're not making yourself any better. When you get out here on the practice field, you want to strive to be the best at whatever it may be. I don't care what field, but you always should try to strive to be the best you can be, and no matter what it is you try. And I think just commitment and you being committed to that craft or job, and then trying to be the best you can be at that job as well are two of the most important values that I kind of hold true to myself when I was coming up playing ball, and in my work life as well.
Yeah, I think those are very important. We've talked about, your career leading up, throughout all the things you learned, but, throughout that career, you played for some pretty good coaches, yes. Both now, officially now after the class of 2020, head coach Chuck Noll, who you played for, transitioned into head coach Bill Cowher, are now both going to be Hall of Famers. What does that mean to you, not only as a fellow Hall of Famer, but you have the perspective to say, as one of their players as well. So what is that feeling like for you? Is it some sort of pride? Are you happy for Coach Cowher and Coach Noll? What did that feel like, especially when you found out that Mr. Cowher was going in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pride thing too, and the Steelers have a great reputation as a historic type of franchise. And you look at how many coaches those guys have had over the few decades. It's amazing just the small amount of coaches they've had. And for me to play, with Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher, who was inducted last year. Well, he hasn't officially been inducted, but he was selected. But, just to have those guys as mentors to me, I mean, it was great because, Chuck Noll, when I first came to the Steelers in '88, of course, I knew who Chuck Noll was, and I knew he was a Hall of Fame coach. But, just to be in his presence and be able to talk to him was phenomenal. And then Bill Cowher comes in '92 after Chuck Noll left. And just had a great career. It's just, he coached 15 seasons. Did they win 2 Super Bowls with Coach Cowher?
They got at least one. They got the one.
Okay, yeah.
I think Tomlin was there when they beat Arizona.
They won the other one, yeah. But, and then Bill Cowher, the difference, people always ask me the difference between the two of those guys. Chuck Noll he was an old school guy and, just demanded respect he really didn't try to interfere with the assistant coaches when it came to guys making mistakes and everything else. He wanted the assistant coaches to correct us, but he spoke volumes when he did speak, because he didn't speak that often. So when he got upset, we knew that we were in trouble. So everybody kind of straightened up. And then it was a complete total change, 360. Bill Cowher comes in, much younger, on fire. You know, he had a fire about himself. So he was like a hands-on kind of coach. And it was two different kinds of styles, but both were effective. And Bill Cowher, you know, he selected some of the players as co-captains to be able to voice opinions. So we had opportunity to make changes in the game plans. And it was just an honor to play for Coach Cowher, because he was such a great guy. And, you know, but it was an honor playing for both of those coaches.
You look at both those two of the greatest coaches. Obviously, they're going to have bronze bust here, or, you know, Mr. Noll already does. Coach Noll does.
Yes.
You know, Coach Cowher will. But two of the greatest coaches, you know, to ever be involved in the game of football. If you could pick maybe one thing apiece, what did each of those coaches teach you, not only as a football player, but as a young kid coming out of college and, you know, growing into, you know, your adult life? What is one thing that each of those coaches taught you?
Well, you know, Chuck Noll used to always talk about excellence, you know, because he was a perfectionist. I always called him a Renaissance man, because he knew something about everything. When you were talking to me, you kind of felt stupid when you were talking to Coach Cowher, because I'm not Coach Cowher, but Chuck Noll, because he just knew something about everything. But in his own subtle way, he cared about you as a person as well. And he just wanted to make sure that you were okay as a person once you left the game of football. And transitioning to Bill Cowher, you know, Coach Cowher was just one of those he was a rah-rah guy, you know, really, you know, he didn't preach to guys as much as, well, he preached more, but he really didn't, you know, try to give you life lessons when it came to that. He was just such a rah-rah guy and such positivity was the one thing that he always talked about, being positive in everything you do. Yeah, everybody's going to make mistakes. We're all human, but, you know, you got to have a short memory when it comes to playing football. And he says, you know, don't dwell on the past. Don't dwell on the past. Look towards the future. And those are that's one of the things that I took away from Bill Cowher.
So, you know, talk about looking to the future. And as we look towards, you know, the future of the Pro Football Hall of Fame here, you know, one of those coaches that, you know, and I don't have a vote, I don't have any say on how this goes, but you look at a guy like Bill Belichick, the head coach of the New England Patriots, who has had so much success in his career and, you know, probably is going to have a bust here in Canton, Ohio one day. He was quoted in saying that you, Mr. Dawson, were one of the best players that we have ever played against at that position, you know, being offensive line. So when somebody like that says something about you, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's an honor, you know, for Coach Belichick to say that about me. And I probably would have loved playing for Coach Belichick, because, you know, some of the things we talk about, you know, about commitment and, you know, striving for excellence. That's what he wants to get out of his guys. And I had the same mentality, and it's an honor for him, you know, how much he has or how much success he's had throughout his whole career, and for him to say that about me. And I've had guys ask me about that, and I said, well, you know, that's an honor, because he really doesn't give a whole lot of compliments to a lot of players unless he really respects them. And so I take that as an honor coming from Coach Belichick.
I think it definitely means a lot. You know, he's a great coach, loves the history of the game. So he's, you know, you saw him on TV when the NFL 100 selections were being made. He loves the old history of the game. So truly, I think it does go a long way as a compliment. So we're going to dive back into our schools now. We're going to send it back out to Mr. Alt's classroom there at Belmont County for our next question. So go ahead and have your student ready there and ask their question.
Who was the dirtiest player you played against?
The dirtiest player I played against?
And you don't have to say names if you don't want to.
Well, you know what? I mean, most guys, most players respect you, you know, and we have a mutual respect when we're on the field because nobody wants to really, you know, hurt you intentionally. You do have some guys who will give you like an extra little push here and there, you know, if you're on the ground.
Love tap, right?
Yeah, a little love tap, or you know, when you're on the ground, maybe they put a knee in your calf or on your thigh or your hand. I'm not for sure exactly who I would consider, you know, you know, just
an instigator of something like that.
Yeah. I don't think most guys intentionally try to be dirty. And right now, and I can't recall, it may come back to me, one guy that maybe had done something to me. But right now, and I can't recall who that may have been.
And I think you know, too, we talked about it when we talked about MJ, there's that certain level of respect to when, you know, you get on the field and you're going up against, you know, you at center, you are literally 6 inches from the guy in front of you on the other team whose goal is to knock you over and get to the quarterback.
Yes.
So it does come up when you see a player like yourself, or maybe there's a defensive tackle, you know, like a John Randall, or that's a player that comes to mind to me. You know, kind of those on the field having a good time type guys, to where they're not trying to do anything like that. That's just their style of play, and there is a mutual level of respect. So they may do that, but they're going to roll you over and help you up.
Yeah, and it may be inadvertent too.
Play. Yeah,
it may be inadvertent. You know, I don't think guys intentionally try to be dirty. I've heard of guys being dirty, but I don't think. And I think, you know, a lot of guys in the league, whether it be defensive offense, you know, they respect the players. They respect you as a player. They respect your play on the field. So therefore, they have a little bit more respect for you than maybe somebody else. And I was a quiet guy. And I think the guys who talk and run their mouths all the time are the ones that guys try to retaliate against. And, you know, I never was one of those guys. I was always quiet. I could knock somebody down or I could get beat. I just go back to the huddle. You know, I'm talking to the guys in the huddle, but I'm not saying anything to that one specific guy. The only person I ever had where I really was outraged, we were playing Houston in Pittsburgh, and we're down by the goal line. And I'd come around and I hit Lamar Latham, who was an outside linebacker, and I put him on his back. And then he got up and he spit on my face. And so I went ballistic. And I knew that I couldn't just sit there and punch him. I said, you know, I had some choice words with him, and I said, when you see a flash, you better see me coming. It's going to be me coming. And I knew I didn't want to do anything that was going to be detrimental to the team with a penalty or get thrown out of the game. So I kept my cool, but I let him know how it felt.
You're going to stick that one in the back of your mind for next time you pull around the corner and he's standing there.
And the funny thing about that was that when Kevin Green got inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, guess who was there? Because they played together in Carolina, Lamar Latham. And we rode in the same truck, in the same car to Kevin's after party. And so we talked about that and laughed about it. But I told him, I said, I was livid when that happened to me that first time. I said, man, that was total disrespect, you know, spitting on a player and unacceptable. He said, man, I apologize. He said, you know, I was a wild man, and, you know, my emotions got the best of me, because he was a good player, but he was so emotional about everything. And so I forgave him.
I think that's a great story. And I think that encapsulates the game of football so well. You know, you're on the field, you're in the moment, you know, sometimes you do things you aren't proud of, but 20 years down the road, there's an apology and a story and a meeting, a chance meeting in a truck on a way to a party. I think that's such a cool way that shows how cool the game of football is. And, you know, that's one thing that we want to, you know, kind of preserve here at the Hall of Fame, you know, is those stories and how great the game is. But like we said at the beginning, you know, we want to preserve that history. And I can't think of a better way to showcase that than to bring in our coworker, my friend here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Mr. John Kendall, who's in our Research and Preservation Center here in Canton, Ohio. And it's going to talk a little bit about what we do here at the Hall of Fame when it comes to artifacts, and a little bit about your career. So, John, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you throwing
Hey,
it down
John.
to me. Hi, Dermontti, and I want to thank you for all you've done for the game, all you do for the game, and all you do for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
like Jake said, I'm John Kendall. I'm Director of Archives and Football Information here. And today we're standing in the Ralph Wilson Jr. Pro Football Research and Preservation Center. So this is where, when we talk about our mission to honor the heroes of the game, preserve its history, promote its values, and celebrate excellence everywhere, this is where we're really hitting on those points by honoring the heroes of the game, like you, Dermontti, and the 25,000 plus individuals who have played at least one NFL regular season snap. We are honoring them by preserving their legacies through their artifacts and documents. And by sharing their stories, hopefully we can showcase that those same values that make you great on the football field are the same things that make you a great student or teacher or business leader. Those values, the commitment, integrity, courage, respect, excellence, they transcend the football field. And so just a few things that I pulled today related to your personal archive, Dermontti. We've got a huge photo collection here, a lot of different images from throughout your career. We've got a lot of newspaper clippings, and your career kind of spanned the hard copy to the digital age. So we have a lot more digitized as well. Newspaper articles. I heard a question earlier about your first NFL game. And so this is actually the game program from that first game. Like you said, it was your first start, I should say, your first NFL start.
Okay.
And that was against the Buffalo Bills there, and Mike Webster on the game day cover. We've got media guide bio, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of media guides.
Yes.
Your day. This is a media guide bio from your final season with the Steelers in 2000. Quite a bit of information as they continue to add more and more information. And then going back to the beginning, 1988. This here is your scouting report that was distributed to the NFL clubs. Offensive guard and center, Kentucky. I love this. Incredible strength. Strongest offensive lineman in the country, possessed great speed and foot quickness. Those were some of your calling cards, I think, throughout your entire career. And then obviously here, seven-time Pro Bowl selection. This is from 1994, and then six-time All-Pro. That's the best of the best. So, when we talk about preserving the history, that's what we're doing in this area. 40 million pages of documents, 6 million photographic images, over 30,000 artifacts related not just to the history of the game, but really every player, coach, and administrator who helped build the game to what it is today.
Well, it's a great archive. Great archive.
Thank you. And let you know, if you have anything else that you want to add to your personal archive, we'd love to preserve it here. But my question for you is, when you were drafted in 1988 by the Steelers, you were the second round pick that year. They also drafted another center, Chuck Lanza, out of Notre Dame in the third round. And so I just kind of wondered if you could kind of go back to that competition and then what it was like. I know offensive linemen are a little bit different, and you guys have this special camaraderie, this brotherhood. But what it was like then after that competition and winning that job to be mentored by a future Hall of Famer in Mike Webster.
Well, I gave a lot of credit to Mike Webster, my rookie year, and to that attributed to my success as well. Because when I came to Pittsburgh and drafted to Pittsburgh in '88, Mike was in his 15th year. And I prided myself by being the first one over to the stadium, lifting weights and getting in the classroom. But Mike was always there first every time that I got there. And, so I would look at Mike and I would ask Mike in the classroom, I said, Mike, why are you writing down all the notes? Because you probably know the offense better than the offense coordinator. And he said, I want to make sure that it's concrete in my brain because you have to make so many adjustments at the center. And I was a guard at that time. But Mike, when we were out in practice, he was the first one in line for every drill. And so, as the season went on, I was always picking Mike's brain, starting beside him. And, Mike would give me information about, as far as techniques and everything else, and how to, become a better player. And so when Chuck Noll called me in his office and wanted to switch me to center my second year. He said, I want you and Chuck Lanza, who was the 3rd round pick in '88 from Notre Dame. He says, I want you guys to fight it out. And, so what I tried to do is I tried to emulate and try to be like Mike and lead by example, because I wanted to make sure that I was first in drills. And then I got to the point where I was even in the defensive drills, and then I had my coach would pull me out because I wanted to get in there and prove myself. But when after training camp and working at center during the off season in my second year, then Chuck Noll finally came in, brought me into his office and said, you're going to be our starter. And so I was elated, but I give a lot of credit to Mike, just looking at him and seeing his professionalism and how he prepared for games in the classroom, in the weight room, on the field. So, what better example to have as a future Hall of Famer at that time, to emulate yourself after.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Appreciate, like I said, all you do for the Hall of Fame, and look forward to seeing you here in Canton here soon.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Dermontti.
All right. Thanks, John. Thanks for that inside look there behind the scenes here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And, we got just a short amount of time here left. I want to make sure we get back to our schools. So we're going to throw it out to Ms. Black's class here in Canton, Ohio at Madge Yutz Elementary for their next question. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute their microphone. They're good to go there. And whenever you're ready, ask your question.
Say hi.
Hi, I'm Bella, and I was wondering how you first started to play football and what made you want to play football.
Well, Bella, I was a wrestler and I ran track when I was in high school. And I went out for football one year, my 9th grade year. I played tight end, but I didn't come to many practices, and then I didn't come to many games. So I really wasn't committed to the game at that point because I was track and field, and I thought that I wanted to be a future Olympian. But in high school, I was on the track team as well, and I wrestled my sophomore year. And so I had 2 of my teammates. Well, let me back up. I was coming out of biology class in my 10th grade year. And then I had one of the coaches who was the new coach at Bryan Station football, Steve Parker. And Steve Parker saw me coming out of chemistry class. And then, because I've always had a goatee for, since 9th grade. And so my grandmother used to tell me to cut it off because I looked too old. But, my coach, Steve Parker, saw me coming out of chemistry class, and he put his hands around me on my shoulders and said, son, where have you been all my life? Because I've been the same height since 9th grade. I was just skinny. I was like 185 pounds. And then my junior year, I was 225 pounds. My senior year, I was 255 pounds. But Steve Parker had 2 of my teammates, Mark Logan and Cornell Burbage, who were sprinters on the track team. He wanted those guys to convince me to go out for football. So I decided to go out for football my junior year, and I started to tackle. And then I started to tackle my senior year. But I had no inkling that I was going to even get a scholarship to any college. But when they came to my high school, Bryan Station Senior High School, they were looking at some other players. And so they saw me on film because I was about 6'2.5", almost 6'3", 255 pounds my senior year. And so they saw me how strong and how fast I was. And next thing you know, then I have letters coming from different universities, like a questionnaire. And then I get invited to, UK for an official visit, and Michigan State and UCLA. So I was kind of torn whether or not I wanted to pursue track and field or football. So when I was offered a scholarship at the University of Kentucky, they said I could do both track and football. So that's the reason why I chose the University of Kentucky, and that's what kind of started my football career.
Yeah, everybody's got to start somewhere, right? Whether it's when you're 5 years old and you can barely put a helmet on your head, or when you're a sophomore in high school, and you sometimes now you're even seeing not until college, and guys are still making it to the NFL. So it's all about all about the effort, all about those values. And like I said, everything's going to go back to them. We're now going to go out to Ms. Rinaldi's class there at Belden Leadership School, right up the road here in Canton, Ohio. And they're going to have their second question ready to go. So whenever you're ready there, go ahead and have a student walk up and ask their question.
All right, we have Tamara Foster. Over here. She's a little shy, but she has the question.
Oh, okay. Well, you can put the paper in front of your face. Don't be too shy.
Show him your beautiful face.
Okay. What purpose did you have as a child that made you the man you are today?
Okay. Could you repeat that for me?
Okay. What purpose did you have as a child that made you the man you are today?
What purpose?
Yep.
Yes.
That made me the man I am today. I think, just my parents, raising me the right way. I came from a family that my dad was an alcoholic. He worked at IBM and he was an alcoholic for years. And I think, just being responsible. I was the oldest of 4 kids and I was the oldest of my brothers. I had a brother who was 4 years younger than I. And so I had to, watch him in the summertime. We didn't have daycare. My mom was a nurse. And I think really that kind of prepared me for, whatever I came up against, because, I was in charge of my brother. Then I had another brother who was 10 years younger and then one 11 years younger. So I think having a responsibility and being the oldest child, you kind of take that responsibility. So I became my mother's babysitter and I guess dad to my brothers, because I had that responsibility on me. And I think that made me just a little older than what I was. I was very responsible when I was younger. Not to say that I wasn't a child that got in trouble and did bad things. I did bad things, but I still made sure that I took care of my mom and the kids when they were younger. So I think that kind of prepared me, and made me who I am today, because I am very responsible. I'm one of those go-getters. I don't need anybody to motivate me. I'm already self-motivated. And so I think just a culmination of that, dealing with the adversity in my youth, that kind of helped me and kind of shaped me and formed me to the person I am today.
I think that's very important. You look at, everybody's got a mentor, whether it's a parent or an athlete, and everybody looks up to somebody. And, you learn so much that you can apply to your life. Like I said, you grew up a little bit sooner, but it made you a leader, which that transitions into sports and life as well. And another cool way that, everything is intertwined when you look at, the values of things. So last question from our schools here. We're going to go out to Mr. Shreve's class there in Belden as well for our next question. So whenever you're ready there, Mr. Shreve, have a student come up to the microphone and ask their question, and then we'll start to wrap up the program.
All right, we got Marcus coming up.
What advice can you give young people about how to develop their character?
And it was Marcus?
Yes, sir.
Well, hey, building character, I mean, it's something that I think we constantly learn throughout our lives. And, really being compassionate to people and nice to people, that helps you build integrity, which is part of, developing your character as well, and being committed to whatever it is that you start. I know when I had my kids, I used to tell them that, once you start, you sign that contract, you have to be accountable. And I think, those are some of the things that help develop character. And it also creates integrity as well, because when you decide to pursue something and you don't quit, that says a lot about you. And, it's just so easy to give up because it's something that you don't like or somebody you don't like. So I think that you have to, when it comes to, being committed to whatever it is you choose to do, and then operating with some level of integrity, that's a big character builder as well. And then also, I want to leave you with this as well. My coach in college, when you're doing anything it is, I don't care what it is, try to be the best that you can be, and try to be the best person you can be, try to be the best student you can be, try to be the best brother, sister, whatever it may be. Always try to be the best at what you tackle, because I'm telling you, it will make you a better person, and just strive to be the best person you can be and strive for excellence every time. If you don't know something, look it up. So if I can leave you with that, just try anything that you try, be the best that you can be at it.
Well, Marcus, that was actually my final question. So we got that covered. So with that, we'll wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, powered by Extreme Networks. And again, I'd like to thank you, Dermontti, for being a part of the program today. And I'll echo what John said when he came on camera. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the game of football. I always like to say, the game of football wouldn't be like it is today without the people who played it, specifically our Hall of Famers, because they all left an impact on the game, and also, like we said, leaving an impact in the community as well. So thank you for everything you've done for the game of football. Thank you for everything you do for us here in Canton at the Hall of Fame, specifically programs like this. We are greatly appreciative of taking your time out of your day today to do the program.
And thank you for hosting the program as well, Jacob.
All right. Thank you. So with that, we'll wrap up this program, and we will hopefully see you next time we do a Heart of a Hall of Famer here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So for everybody out there watching, everybody who Class is Connecting, all of our YouTube viewers, thank you so much. And we hopefully see you next time right here.